Welcome to the Reiki Business Collective, where Reiki business owners come together to share information, support one another, and serve the world. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, interviewing and inviting Reiki business owners to join the conversation in the Reiki Business Collective Facebook group. Thank you. Welcome to this episode of the Reiki Business Collective. In this episode, we are chatting with Sally Carmichael. Sally is a Reiki and meditation teacher who deeply values helping people feel safe and have what they need to live, be, and express their innermost selves. Her purpose is to teach and practice the system of Reiki from a traditional Japanese perspective, and to help people experience its wonderful spiritual potency. Sally has been practicing Reiki and meditation on and off for over 20 years, is a member of Shibumi International, and holds a certificate in Shinpiden Level 3. Sally lives in Eastern Melbourne, Australia, where she runs her in-person practice, Cosmic River. She believes strongly in sass, and that life is far too important to take too seriously. And Sally is here to chat with us about setting up a Reiki space. Sally, welcome to the Reiki Business Collective. Such an honor to have you here. Thank you.
It just feels so good when you read that out. You just make it sound amazing. So, yay. Yeah. Cool.
Well, Sally,
Hello.
It is amazing. You've got some great things going on. Yes, it's lovely. So thank you. So Sally, tell us about your Reiki business. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. Okay. I promised myself this time I wouldn't say every 5 seconds. I'm not going to say every 5 seconds. So I started a business recently. It's actually just over a year old, and I practiced Reiki, for quite some time, and on and off. I would go for times without and that. But yeah, just the last year is when I got the business finally going, and yeah, I love it. I really love it, and I've only really just started taking people in the last 6 months in for sessions and training. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. I mean, everybody's probably is. I bet they all would be, right? They must be. I bet yours was.
Yes, for sure. And Sally, I'd really love to hear about the name Cosmic River and where that comes from, where you came up with that. Why Cosmic River, Sally?
Yeah, well, I really like my name, and it did come to me through a way. So I was doing some self meditation and work a while back, and what happened? I used there's this qigong meditation where you go into your imagination space, and you go to a river, and in the river you can't. It probably sounds a bit gross, but it works really well. It's really good. You take out an organ at a time, and you place it in the river, and you clean it, and you flush out all the toxins and stuff, and see it floating away, and you put it back in, and it's all cleansed and everything. It's really amazing. But some people are like, what? That sounds so gross. Anyway, so I was doing that meditation, which I hadn't done for quite some time. And yeah, the meditation kind of took over, and I ended up kind of following this river back up its source and up a waterfall and into this space. And it was quite a ethereal space. It was like a dark kind of night times, starry sky and everything. And it had just taken over. And I was just guided, and the message that I got was, you can take as much from this river as you need. There's no like, it's just take whatever you need from the river. You don't need to like, there's no limits, there's no rules. Just go into the river, take whatever you need. So I kind of, a few months later, I was like, oh, what am I going to call my business? And I was thinking of some names, and it was all fun because, it's exciting when you, what am I going to call my business? It's a fun part of it, isn't it? And yeah, Cosmic River just came up. It's like, oh my God, of course, that's what it's called, Cosmic River. And I was like, I looked up the name in the register and everything, and it was free. Nobody had it. I was like, what? So that's the story. Yeah.
Wow, Sally, that is incredibly powerful. And I have to say that as you were talking about take as much from the river as you need, I actually teared up. Like that, I feel that was really very powerful. And that whole meditation of taking out an organ at a time and cleansing it, that sounds incredibly powerful. Just that whole experience. I could feel it, Sally. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us, for sure.
Yeah,
so,
I'm getting all tingly, actually.
Yeah. I got all teary. So,
so nice.
Yeah. So, Sally, talk to us then about setting up a Reiki space. I'm really curious to hear about your experiences with that and your encouragement for other practitioners with a Reiki space. Tell us about your Reiki space, Sally.
Yeah. I'm really keen to share this story because I'm sure there are much more interesting or difficult stories that people have, but this is mine anyway. I wanted to start from home, just to get going, I didn't want to like rent a space, that's what people do, and it's just easier. But like I've got a 3-bedroom place that I rent, and there was like no separate space. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I was like, maybe I could just, when people come over, I could use a section of my lounge room. I could just put up screens and they could come in there. I played with that for a while, and then it's like, nah, that's not going to work. That's silly. I finally settled on this dining room space that I wasn't really using. And I was like, but it's right next to the kitchen. That's not going to work. And it's too small, and how is this going to work? But anyway, it just clicked. It was like, you know what? This is the space. This really is the space. It's just, I know it. I know this is the space. As soon as I decided, I was like, yep, this is the space. I can make this work. As soon as I made that decision, the energy in the space changed. I was in there, and I could feel it. I was like, wow, some stuff's going to happen here, isn't it? That was really cool. Yeah, that was really affirming. So that was like, this whole journey is a whole new experience for me to really live my intuition in this way and really trust that knowing. So yeah, I mean, just living that way is just, it's just wonderful, more and more. But so that was all great. And so then I'm like, okay, I better tell my landlord that I want to do this. I probably should tell him. People were like, oh, you probably don't need to tell them. But I was like, no, it's got to be open. I think that would not be living the Reiki principles either. If if I didn't do that, So I told the landlord, and he was actually very supportive. I gave him a bit of a description about what the business was about, and I'm sure he had no idea what Reiki was. He was like, he looked it up and got some idea, and he was really supportive, which was awesome. So that means a lot, because he didn't have to be like that. So, but then it's like, well, he actually, it turns out he works in risk management, in like corporate commercial risk management. So he actually reads contracts, and he read the home insurance contract for the house, and he's like, so I'm going to have to ring around to speak with some insurance providers, because if you run a business from the house, it's going to void the house insurance. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he did that. He rang up, some insurers, and none of them would insure it. None of them would insure a house where there was a home-based business. So I was like, okay, all right. So I'm like, okay, well, this isn't really your problem. So I'll do some legwork, and I'll, get around and ring some more insurers and see what I can find. And I couldn't find any either. The best I could do was, one of the insurers was like, well, okay, what we can do is give you a commercial building insurance. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds really full on and expensive. And it was really expensive. So I'm like, oh no, holy crap, what am I going to do? And I'm talking to my friends about it, and they're like, this is, they used more words than this, but this is rubbish. This is just, there's no risk. There's, and it did feel like, oh God, this is so much effort just to like have people come into my house. Like I'm not even burning anything. I could not burn anything, and there'd be no fire risk. So, I was like, God, this just seems so debilitating for such a small thing. But anyway, I was like, well, I can't, what else can I do? Because, I could have spent a bunch of money maybe and built something out the back temporary, or I could, there's probably more options than I thought, but I really it just felt so right. I just felt like this was the right way to go. So anyway, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just keep ringing. I'll just keep going with it. I'll just keep at it. And so I end up ringing. Oh, actually, no, what I did, no, later on I rang some insurance bodies and stuff. But before that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a risk assessment. I'm going to speak his language, because I kind of work in an engineering space. So I'm like, I kind of understand these principles. I'm going to write a risk matrix for him and a report. I'm going to just define everything here for him. So I like defined all the risks. I wrote him a report, like, here's the spaces I'm going to use in the house. Here are the risks I can identify. Let's just agree on the risks, how I'm going to deal with them, and then just go with that, which was just rubbish, because I was just grasping at straws. But I did try. I was like, come on, can't we just do this? And so, and I even like did a calculation on, at one point he's like, well, what if somebody like runs the car into the house? They come and park. I guess there is a very remote chance of that. And he had a sort of a valid point. But I'm like, oh, come on. So I calculated the risk of that actually happening based on like car crash statistics and stuff like that. So I really like other people will be like, why did you do that, Sally? And I'm like, well, I didn't know what to do. That's just how I roll sometimes. Or maybe that's how I used to roll, maybe. I don't know. But it makes a good story, doesn't it?
Yeah, Sally, I actually love that because, the fact that you went that deep into it just, I think, does a couple of things. Number one, it shows your level of dedication to it. And it also shows just your depth of thinking about it. And Sally, I'm really glad to hear this story. And this is going to sound a little strange. I'm really glad that you had this issue because this is something that plenty of Reiki practitioners have, do, and will come up against, is this desire to practice out of their home and run their business out of their home, particularly when they're renters.
Yeah.
And without realizing that, oh, yeah, this is something I should tell my landlord about. And without realizing that, hey, our landlord might be really for it and supportive. But when it comes down to really putting into jeopardy their own property and business and all of their assets, then they get a little nervous, and I think rightly so. So Sally, your experience here is incredibly valuable. So thank you so very much. So this is really helpful, Sally. Thank you.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope so. It's definitely been a lesson for me. Yeah. I gave that to him, and he was like, "Nah." The problem is, Sally, it's not that if something happens because the business caused it, it's that if the house burns down because of some other reason, or what, that it's not covered for that because there was a business. It's just the insurer has that, in their contract. So they're like, "Oh, you had a business. Sorry, we're not going to pay you." So I don't think I actually fully grasped that initially. And I think once I actually thought about that, he helped me actually realize the problem. Or, I was like, that's really not fair. So I really appreciated his patience, to be honest, because he really didn't have to be so, be like that. So I was really grateful for that. So yeah, I had a lot of gratitude for this whole thing. I'm really, I have so much gratitude for how this has come together, and there's more to that. I'll get to that. But so anyway, I ended up, I called like national insurance bodies to talk about this problem, because I'm like, God, this can't be just my problem. This must be a common problem. Like, surely it can't be this hard. And they were like, yeah, just call this body and that body, this insurer, and that didn't work. So I'm like, what the hell? Somebody must be able to resolve. Anyway, finally, I'm like, I'll speak to a broker. I don't know why I didn't do that first, but anyway, it's easy in hindsight. So I spoke to a couple of brokers, and one of them's like, yeah, no, that's fine. We can do it. Yeah, you need like commercial building insurance and that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can you just speak with my landlord? So I put them together, they talked, they solved it, and I had to pay a bit more insurance, which is fine, on top of the domestic sort of insurance, and we did it. Whew. And I feel good, because there's no way I could have like done it under the radar. Even if I could, I just wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel right, so it was difficult. And maybe there were easier ways to get around it, but that was the path I went, and that's all fine. That's how it worked out. And now I've got this space. It's actually really small. I think it's small. I think other people will think it's small. The space, I worked it out in feet. I think it's about 8 foot by 10 foot, or 2.5 meters by 3.3 meters. So it's quite a small space. So it's a lot of work for that small space, but it feels really great. And, you know, I put up some curtains, floor to ceiling curtains and once it's all sealed off or curtained off, it's perfect. And everybody loves it. They're like, ah, this feels so good. And people that have been in my house before, they're like, what have you done here? Because it looks so different. It's amazing what curtains can do. So yeah, the whole thing in an even bigger context, this whole, you know, I think there's like one of the things I've just learned from this is, you know, that I really want to encourage anyone that's like going through that kind of questioning and, oh no, what am I going to do? Like often, you know, what we need is probably always is right in front of our eyes. You know, it's already here, or it's in us, or, you know, or we're connected with it somehow. Maybe it's somebody we know, and when we need it, it will come. It might not look what we want. That's the thing, you know, obviously. I mean, yeah, it might look like this or something else. It might look like some hard work or whatever, but yeah, I guess just having that experience of just knowing this was the right space, and then going through this kind of difficulty and everything, it's just taught me so much about, yeah, just what it means to, I guess, follow that intuition, you know. Yeah, and go by your principles too. Stick to your principles. Yeah, but also, you know, more about this space, like it's really like my life has kind of come together in a lot of ways since I moved to this house. And, you know, like the funny thing about this house is, you know, well, it has like the landlords put in like another like they did a bathroom upgrade, and so there's a really nice bathroom, and then there's an ensuite right next to it, and it's such a small house. Even like my friend who was here on the weekend was like, why is there an ensuite there? Because it's just like, if you came here, you'd be like, I don't know why there's an ensuite. But the ensuite is like perfectly located so that when customers come, if they need a toilet, like they come in the hallway, they could go to the bathroom, and they don't have to enter the rest of the house, and they can go between the Reiki room and the bathroom, and, you know, like that whole space is just one little space. So it actually worked out really well. I actually kind of think that ensuite is just for me. Yeah. So, and the other thing is the location where I am is just, I'm just connected with this place so much, connected with the land here. And it, yeah, you know, these forces are here in our lives. And yeah, you know, when you start to see them, right, like it's just humbling. It's really humbling, you know? Yeah, I think I wrote this down, I think about a year ago, and it was just, the universe provides in humbling and delightful ways. It's just blessed. Yeah.
That is beautiful, Sally. Thank you for that. Sally, I have lots of questions, but I really want to go back to that moment of resistance when you're looking at the space and you're saying, no, 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 not here. No, 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 no. Okay, here. And then here. So like, Sally, take us back to that resistance and walk us through that. What was that all about? And what was it that finally made you say yes to the space?
Yeah. So yeah, it was a real logical thing, wasn't it? I think like a real like if I'm thinking about this problem from a purely practical point of view, I'm like, where am I going to do this in my house? Because I really want to do it. I want to make this work. And I think I actually started by thinking, I could do it in that dining space. But then I was like, yeah, it's just right next to my kitchen. It's gonna like have kitcheny smells, and it's gonna like it. It's right near the laundry. Just doesn't. I don't think that's gonna work. And we need to walk through here all the time. Yeah, it just when I like went through that in my mind, I'm like, no way that's gonna work. There's no way. So I think it was really an intuitive leap, really. It was really, I was probably meditating about it. I guess I let go at some point as well. And it just kind of hit me, like, yeah, I could just, what I could do? I could just put up curtains. I could just do this. What I'll do is I'll just try it. So this is something I like to do. I like to try things and just like test it out, and see how I feel about it. I'm always like, I think I approach a lot of things like that. I just want to touch it. I just want to like dip my toe in and see, is this right for me? I'm not the sort of person to like dive straight. So yeah, I think what I did was I'm like, okay, I'm just going to move the table out that's here. I'm just going to clear the space first. So let's just do that. And I'm like, yeah, I like this. Yeah, it just kind of happened, But so much debilitation because I'd been, or deliberation, sorry, not debilitation, deliberation. So I'd always think about these problems, like, and run them over in my head again and again to find some doorway I hadn't thought of, or some arrangement or configuration. Oh, what if I did this? And yeah, I think letting go of that and then just trying it, and just that intuition just guided me, I think. I don't know if that's sort of what I can say about that, I think. Yeah.
I think that's really great, Sally. This idea of just try it, right? Like if you don't like it, then you can stop doing it, right? Yes. I think that is really great encouragement for anyone who is considering setting up a Reiki space in their home or really anywhere else, to say, hey, listen, it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes it's not exactly as you envision it. Sometimes the Reiki room might be beside the kitchen, and sometimes there might be some kitcheny smells. But you know what? If you try it and you don't like it, you can do something different.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's lovely, Sally.
Yeah, I did stress about the smell. On the stress, I just like, I'm going to have to just like make sure I manage this. And you know what? It's actually fine. I was like, oh, how are people gonna go with this? But it's actually fine because everything's closed off. And I just keep kitchen clean, which I should anyway. And I have some incense or whatever. It's just, I mean, the reason I say it's fine is because people come into the space and they're like, oh, this feels so nice. So I know that they're not having a bad experience, Yeah, I mean, I know they're having a good experience. Yeah.
So Sally, you mentioned curtains, you mentioned some incense. How do you create a welcoming space for Reiki?
Well, I mean, it starts with my own practice. So I didn't even talk about this, but I won't talk about it too much, but a couple of years ago, I had this vision that I would create the kind of space that was like a healing house. I've been to like other healers places or walk past there, and just the energy and the feel of those places was like, and people come there for healing and feel good being there. And I was like, I want to create that kind of space. So that I just set that vision, and I think that really just sat in the back of my mind, and just that I practice in my space almost every day. I practice in some way. At least I say the precepts, or I chant the Reiki precepts in that space. So I think that's the first part of it. That's the first part, is that really creates the energy, Oh, I'm getting a little tingles just thinking about it. I just love the energy here now. It's really changed. I never realized I could be that kind of person that created that kind of space, but I am, turns out. So yeah, I like to have a simple space, and I think the practice of Reiki is can be very simple, especially in the Japanese practice. And so I think I like to kind of reflect that as well. And yeah, I don't have much, but I happen to have a really nice window that opens up onto a small courtyard. So that adds a lot to the space, probably makes it not as small. I just have a bookshelf and my table and some pictures. That's about it, really, and just some plants. Yeah.
I love this, Sally. And what I really love about it is a couple of things. Number one, I love that you are showing us how the space really begins with us, and our self-practice begins with us. And so that, I think, is so powerful, that it's the energy that we bring into the space that makes the space. It doesn't have to be all kinds of fancy lights and fountains and whatever else we might put into a Reiki space. All we need to bring is that energy, and the energy that we bring is what we bring from our own self-practice. And so I love just the simplicity of this, Sally, because that, I think, is so beautiful. And I think it's great encouragement to anyone looking to set up a Reiki space, that, hey, you don't have to go get any kind of fancy lights or anything like that. All you got to do is just bring Reiki.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And by bringing Reiki, you're bringing yourself. You're bringing out this being that you are, that being that's connecting with all sorts of people and all sorts of paths. Just you're attracting each other, and yeah, it's so cool, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can feel the energy in that simple statement, Sally. So thank you very much for that. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sally, do you have any additional tips, encouragement for people setting up their own Reiki space, whether in their own home or somewhere else?
Well, I was one of the things I wrote down was I've been through it. I've been looking at other people's Reiki spaces, in groups and that. I'm really happy for them. But part of me, at another time, I've probably felt a little jealous. Oh, I can't have that. But that, I'm selling myself short. When I came to that realization, I'm like, Sal, you just admire what they've done, and I want to be happy for them. I wouldn't want to show that jealousy, but deep down, yeah, if I'm doing that, well, I'm just like, I'm cutting my own abundance, my own story. I'm like, my story has nothing to do with, that's other people's stories. My story is unfolding. And what does it look like? It's going to look different. It's going to be my story. And it's going to be amazing because I'm in the pilot seat. So yeah, it can be like, yeah, I know what it can feel like, like I think it's good to remember that too, like, because it's easy to like, oh, I haven't got that far. Look at them. But yeah, like, it's all relative, isn't it? Like they're in the same position, they could be. Yeah, yeah,
Sally, I really appreciate you bringing this up because this is a thing that happens that Reiki
yeah.
practitioners might experience. I don't know. Can we coin the term Reiki space envy? I mean, you know.
Some people are really good at it, though. Damn them, they're so good at it.
Yeah, because yes, people post their pictures and look at my space and look how beautiful and ooh and ah and wow, that's amazing. And inside, sometimes we might feel like, oh, my space doesn't look like that, or oh, I don't have a space at all. So I think it's really helpful, Sally, to just name it and say, hey, listen, this is a thing that happens. And when that does happen, Sally, what are some thoughts that you might have, advice that you might have for those who might feel Reiki space envy?
Yeah, I think when you see that, if, a friend, pointed this out to me recently. It's like when you see somebody doing, when this happens, when you see something, you're like, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I was doing that, like that, and you feel that kind of jealousy. What it's showing you is like, that's what you want. It's showing you how important this is to you. So it's less about what you're seeing and you're like, it's showing you your strong desire to be in that, to be doing what that person's doing, or to build what that person has built, And so just seeing that that's what's there, and then honoring that and being like, that's okay, we can have that, we need to find our own way and it will come. And yeah, just holding that, just holding that, and making sure that you are working on honoring your own needs, because it's coming from a place of like wanting to help and wanting to be out, to get out of your heart, get that energy out into the world and the intention. And so it's coming from a really good place, I think, yeah, yeah. I don't know if that helps.
I think that's very helpful, Sally. I think that is really true, and a really great way to look at it. I know for me personally, I'm fortunate. I don't have feelings of jealousy very often, but I'm human, so I do too. And
Yeah.
when I do, I say to myself, I deserve that too. So if I feel like jealousy rising for something, like let's say I saw a picture of someone's Reiki space and I was like, oh man, oh wow, I'm feeling jealous of that Reiki space. I'll pause and say, I deserve that too. And for
That's so
whatever
great.
reason, that just does it for me. And it's like gone.
That's so good.
Yeah. And I think, Sally, that it's really the same thing that you're saying in a sense, that, hey, this is something that I want. And acknowledging that and recognizing that and saying, obviously, this is something that is important to me and something that I want to bring into my own life. And so, like you said, I love that. Okay, so let's take some steps to bring that in rather than just sitting in that feeling of jealousy. Let's take some action to making it a reality. So that's great,
Yeah,
Sally. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And there's a term I can't remember what it's called, but it's like feeling happiness for somebody else's happiness. And I really like that. It's actually a really good thing in life, I think, is just feeling happiness for somebody else's happiness. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially for other Reiki practitioners, right?
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's one lesson as well that I wanted to like, I guess I've talked about that already, but it's just that like I realized at one point when I was going through the difficult part, I would have to deal with something difficult. Something difficult was going to come up at some point, and it was actually really great that it came up at the start, because it forced me into that mode of problem solving and positive problem solving, and just going at the thing rather than being kind of winded or sidelined or whatever, feeling bad about it. So it was good. It was actually good that came up. Yeah. Yeah.
I agree, Sally, for sure. I think that sometimes, especially, as Reiki practitioners, we might have this idea that we're going to start our business and everything is just going to come easily and flow. And we're going to use Reiki, and that means it's not going to be an issue and everything is going to be great, all roses and no challenges. But the truth is that there are challenges and that the challenges will continue. So,
Oh, what? Damn it.
yeah,
I
it's
thought
part
they
of,
were gonna
yeah, right.
stop.
It's part of part of just being a business owner in any way, shape, or form. And not only that, but just part of being a human being, and I guess for me, when I think about it, the question is, what kind of challenges do I want to have? I'm going to have challenges, whether I'm operating my own Reiki business or I'm working in a job or whatever it might be. There are going to be challenges, and which challenges do I want to be dealing with? So yeah, Sally, I'm glad that you brought up the fact that there was challenge, because I think so often we feel that there shouldn't be any challenges and that it should always flow and be easy. And even that if it's hard, it means it's not meant to be and it's a sign we shouldn't do it. But Sally, you took that challenge and you just really dug right in and you went for it and you found a solution. And, I think that that's really wonderful, because some people might have that experience setting up their Reiki space and run into those challenges with insurance and say, okay, this is a sign it's not meant to be. But you plowed right through, Sally. And I think that that is really helpful to note as well. So thanks for that, Sally. Thanks for your perseverance.
No worries. Yeah. So that's my story.
Well, that's wonderful, Sally. Sally, is there anything else that you would like to add about setting up a Reiki space, and where can people get a hold of you and find you?
Yeah. I think just again, just knowing that you'll have what you need, because once we work our practice, and we encourage our own energy on different levels, we have an earthly self, and our earthly self is the product of a lot of evolution and is capable of so much and is so resourceful, because we wouldn't be here if we weren't. And energetically and through, I don't know how to put this, but energetically we connect, always with our environment. And by being in tune with our center, we will bring what we need. Yeah, we'll bring it to ourselves. We might need to do a lot of healing in that space. We might need some healing, but yeah, we will attract what we need, because we're evidence that we do. We're here. Yeah, it's really we're really powerful. We're forces of nature. We're literally forces of nature. And the more we connect with that, yeah, the more we can have what we need, I think.
That is beautiful. And it reminds me too, Sally, of going back to that meditation, take as much from the river as you need. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can be found on Instagram and Facebook, Cosmic River Healing. I have a website. I love to chat. I love to talk, actually. So yeah, please hit me up if you feel like it. Or if you want to bounce any ideas off or need a little hit of perseverance.
Wonderful, Sally. Thank you so much. And all of those links are below so that listeners can reach out to you and connect. So, Sally, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Reiki Business Collective. It's such an honor, Sally. Thank you.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, and join in the conversation at facebook.com/groups/Reiki Biz, B-I-Z. Blessings and best wishes for your Reiki journey.